Hello, how are you? Uh, my name's Magella. So today I just wanted to have a discussion about a topic linked to my daughter, and the topic is anxiety. Now, anxiety has lots of different forms on how it can sort of present itself, and how we as caregivers, how we react to that. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. That's one thing that I can always promise is to be honest with you. I don't react well to anxiety. I'm anxious myself. I think all parents and caregivers feel anxious and not good enough. And I think that's fairly normal. But when our children or young people show anxiety, how we react, sometimes we have to check in with ourselves before we react, because it can be really like triggering for us. I know it is for me. I get really, really triggered by my daughter's anxiety behaviours. So an example was today. She has social anxiety, and one of her anxieties is when she goes to the shop and with money, because she's just learning about it and she's anxious about that. And so what do? I push her out and I make sure that every week she goes to the shop to buy, whether it's bread, fruit, just a few things for her school lunches. And I make her do that on her own. And I know it's anxiety for her, but she's never going to learn if she doesn't do it. And sometimes I do some role play before we go. We count out the coins, and I deliberately give her coins so she can learn, not necessarily a note. Before, I used to give her a card. And I do sometimes if I'm a bit lazy. But I try to give her real money, because so many children just don't understand money because they just have cards and they never really understand the numbers and things. So sometimes I deliberately give her less money than the things she needs to buy. And I do that to set up problem-solving skills. And I talk through, well, which one of the list, if you don't have enough money, you're going to take off. We do all this discussion before she goes. And she always has a phone that she can phone me if there's a problem. But we have all this discussion and preparation before she goes. We write a list. We talk about how much we think it might cost. Then we talk about, problems, if some problems happen, what we're going to do, and all of that. So she's kind of like mentally prepared. But there's still going to be problems. So today, she went to the shop. She only had to buy two things. But when she came home, she had the two things, so I was really proud of her. But she was so anxious because of the pressure of counting out the money at the counter, the time pressure. And she ended up sort of giving up and just giving the money to the lady, and the lady counted it out, which was fine. It was fine because previously she had just given up and just walked out of the shop and come home and did nothing. So you know what I did? I made her go back again. Sometimes I feel like I'm cruel, like a cruel parent. But I made her go back and do it again, because we can't let our anxiety stop us and block us. Today she came back, she was anxious, and we talked about it. We talked about the successes, that she actually had the items. So she was a success. What did we learn? Okay. And what sort of strategies or skills can we do next time? Maybe counting out the money before we get into the queue, so we are all ready. Even if it's in the corridor, or if you're not ready, step back, let someone go around you while you work it out. That's okay. Like all of these little things. So we always have a sort of a post-shopping discussion. But afterwards, so she's got this anxiety has built up a little bit, and she needed a hug. And she did ask me, which was fantastic, to ask me for a hug. And we sort of hugged it. But the anxiety carried on. Then she becomes moody. And her anxiety reaction is to get moody, and quite often takes out on me. I don't react well to that moody attitude. I find it so triggering for me. Really triggering. And I don't react well. And I have to keep telling myself it's her anxiety speaking, not her being a moody teenager. But I forget that all the time. And sometimes I just have to step back, and I've just said, I need to walk away from you right now, because I'm finding it really triggering what you're doing. Because she was just being like back chatty and sarcastic and just not appropriate. And I just had to say, I just said, you're being rude. You're being rude to me. And I just walked away. Then she did come to me afterwards and apologised. She wasn't aware that what she was doing. And we had a bit of a discussion about it, and she had a big hug and everything to make her aware. But her anxiety really triggers me. And her anxiety behaviours and reactions, I find within me. So I just need to be aware, and I just need to step back sometimes and just take and probably take a deep breath. But I don't do that. I just go, I react. But I think we just need to be aware as caregivers that anxiety can present itself in many different ways in our children and in ourselves. And just to be aware of when we're being triggered by their behaviour, but what is behind that behaviour? Why are they doing that? You know, she had a very anxious time, and she was still holding it, and she just needed a bit of love. But it's very, very, very hard to love someone who's being rude to you. Like, I mean, you can love them, but it's hard to be calm and accepting, I mean, some people do, but I find it hard. So yeah, I just wanted to share that story and just say that, the topic of anxiety within our children and young people and in ourselves, it's okay. And to just be aware on how we react, on how they react when they're anxious, to be able to identify it, the anxiety a bit more than the behavior, and also within ourselves, and to know our own triggers, and what strategies we can put in place to help ourselves, so we're not arguing all the time. So yes, I just wanted to share that. So thank you for listening, and I hope that's helpful, and I'm very happy to have discussions and put things in the chat. Thanks. See you.